Batter up.
Rob and Chris, they're on the air. Yankees, Mets, they're everywhere. From the Bronx to Queens, the diamond gleams. MLB talk, the ultimate team. MLB is the place to be. Rob and Chris with the pitch you'll see. Swinging stats and stories fly. Baseball talk that's amplified.
And welcome to a new episode of NY MLB Talk with your host Rob and Chris as we cover the Mets, the Yankees, and all of Major League Baseball. And if you're on YouTube, if you can, hit that sub button. We would appreciate it. And if you want, you can follow us on TikTok, on Twitter as well, at NYMLB Talk. And you can follow Rob at Armorosco. You can follow myself at CP7NY. So, Rob, it's a little warmer today. I think it's because the players are going to be reporting to spring training in about another week. I think we're starting to warm up a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope so, but it's not going to last too long. I looked at the end of the week. The weekend's going to be freezing again. Yeah. Hey, Armin, how you doing? Looking forward to having Armin on the show on Friday night, Chris.
Yeah, that should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. He's always been a supporter of the show, and he's always a part of the show, really, with his comments. So I'm already looking forward to it. Pitches, some of them are already down at camp.
Yeah, and it's going to be a fun show on Friday. And I just wanted to thank Brian again for coming on last Friday night to talk about the fantasy camps. That show did really, really well. We had a ton of live viewers, and we had even more people watch the show on the replay. So Brian Chris did a great job for us, Chris.
Yeah, that was awesome. And you know what? He brought in a lot of new people to come and watch the show. So hopefully they stick around for more shows. And that's all we could ask for. I think it was great. He did a great job. He took us into these baseball fantasy camps, things that, guys like us and everybody else who's a baseball fan would love to do. So it was good to get an inside view of those camps to see how they really are.
Yeah, definitely. I loved hearing about it. It makes me want to go to one of them. They sound like they're a lot of fun, and he met a lot of cool people, a lot of cool ball players. In fact, he gave us some names that ball players that want to come on the show. So once we book them, I'll make an announcement about who's coming on. But we have a bunch of other players coming on. Good afternoon, Maria. How you doing? Thanks for being out there as usual. Okay, that's good for Friday night show. Definitely.
Yeah.
And hopefully maybe there'll be some more moves by Friday night. We'll see. You never know.
Yeah. You never know.
So what's going on, Chris?
You know what? I'm kind of happy that we're almost at spring training. Like you said, the players definitely next week all be there. And I think the 15th or 16th, the Yankee players, not just the pitchers and catchers, but they'll all be showing up. But I'm looking forward to it. Are the teams complete? I think that's the big story now. And we're getting some news about what the Yankees are still kind of trying to do, right? Like they're still trying to add that right-handed bat that could play first base and also the outfield. So we heard Ty France, really good defensive first baseman, not the greatest hitter, but probably above average against left-handed starters. So that could work. So that's definitely one option there. Possibly bringing back Paul Goldschmidt. That's also an option. And also we heard that they offered Austin Slater at the beginning of the offseason a contract. So maybe he's still in their minds to bring back. But I personally think a bullpen is needed, another bullpen piece. Yeah. They added a few guys, but they're all guys that they're kind of, I hate to call them projects, but guys that they are going to unlock. They keep on using those words like, oh, they're going to unlock this guy, but who knows? Could they all work out? Sure, they might, but we'll see. So I'd rather bring in a guy like Kopech, like that's another name that's been out there that's still a free agent from the Dodgers, but he does get hurt a lot. So there's right. But that's really what's left in the free agency market. unless they start talking trade, which is very possible, and I've been saying that about Dominguez or Spencer Jones. I don't see those guys being on the roster this year unless there's an injury. So I think if they're not traded, I think they're both going to be in AAA this year to start the season. I don't think either one's going to be the fourth outfielder playing, once or twice a week. It just doesn't make sense. So we'll see. Here's another thing before we get to the Mets. A lot of people are complaining that the Yankees are just running it back, right? Oh, they're just bringing everybody back, the same guys. But we got to look at what the team did last year, right? They won 94 games, tied for first in the AL East, right?
Right.
Thank you, Madison. I appreciate that. They were tied with the Blue Jays, right, for the first place, but they lost the tiebreaker, so they had to play that first round. Think about this. If the Yankees win one more game against any team, any of those games that they blew early in the first half of the season, right? The late game, blown saves or whatever. If they win one game in all that time, they win the division by themselves. They don't have to play a wild card series, so they get the bye week. So they go into the division series waiting for either Toronto or Boston to get there, right? And they could set their rotation up. They could rest their guys, whatever. Who knows what would happen with just one more win? So that's what the team is like. I'm sure that's what Cashman is thinking. Like, oh, if we could get one more win, and we did all that without our ace, Garrett Cole the whole season. So yeah, with him coming back, with the whole team back, we could just run it back and be the same team and win 90 something. That's a great thought. And maybe that does happen, but you know what? Every other team improved in the division. So, it's going to make them that much harder. So anyway, but that's how I look at the Yankees. Yeah. We're running it back. But we're not running back a team that won 80 games. We're running back a team that won 94 games without Garrett Cole. So now we're getting those guys back. And maybe, with the guys that they added at the trade deadline last year, maybe they'll just be better in the first half and, they'll win 90 something games. They'll win the division and whatever. And we know what happens in the playoffs. Anything could happen. So,
anything. Yeah.
Right. And to switch it to the Mets, you guys win one more game, you're in the playoffs.
Yep.
Who knows what would happen, right? With your pitching, with your team, you never know what could happen in the playoffs. You're definitely going to do better than the Reds, than what they did. So, but who knows?
Yeah. That's the thing when you were talking about the one game. Yeah. For the Yankees, it meant, that one more game and they would have been in a way better position in the postseason. They would have been set up. The Mets, one more game, and we know how many they blew. One more game, and they would have been in the playoffs if they would have won one more game against the Reds, because that's what happened. The Reds won more games
against any team. It's like the Yankees.
Yeah,
one more game against any team. You could have beat Colorado one more time. Wouldn't have mattered.
And we were and the Yankees, the problem with the Yankees last year is the series against the Blue Jays. They played terrible against the Blue Jays for most of the season. So that's what the problem was.
And here's the other thing,
what?
And here's the other thing too. If they win one more game and they get into the playoffs, right, and all that, if they beat Toronto or Boston in that division series, whoever ends up they playing, I think they beat Seattle, right? Seattle they've always played well against. So I think they beat Seattle in that, and they'll have the home field in that one. And guess what? In the World Series against the Dodgers, they would have the home field there. Do I think they beat the Dodgers? I doubt it. But you just never know. And that's the mentality, or that's probably what the strategy is of the Yankee front office. That's what they're thinking. That's what the analytics guys are saying. Like, look what we did last year. We just have to be just as good as last season or better. And look where we'll be. Right. So,
yeah, you're right. I listen, I agree with you, but listen, Chris, what about Cole? He's a question mark. We don't know how he's going to return after the surgery.
Oh, that's a huge question mark. Absolutely. We've been talking about it. Like, yeah, he's supposed to be back sometime in June, maybe July, but is he going to come right back and be Garrett Cole as soon as he comes back? Probably not. It's going to take him probably a few starts at the very least. So I think the Yankees are thinking, hey, as long as he's good by the end of the season, and going into the playoffs, or that stretch run from like August and September and going into October, I think that's all they're worried about. Yeah, it's going to be rough his first few starts, I'm sure. He's not going to be, he's not going to have great control or whatever early on, but I think as long as he's fine by the end of the year, I think they'll be okay with that.
Yeah, I get that too. But also, how about Heel too? What kind of season do you think he's going to have? That's another thing. We have to see how he's going to pitch this season.
Right? Can he stay healthy? That's his biggest thing. If he could stay healthy, he's not a bad starter. It's just that he's, he does get hurt a lot. He does miss games. So, but here's the other thing. Maybe he might be a guy that they end up trading this offseason, before the season starts. That he would be the guy I think a lot of teams would want because he's proven in the major leagues already. He's not a young pitcher that, that hasn't pitched in the majors yet. Like he's pitched in the majors already and he's proven, right? He won Rookie of the Year 2 years ago. He could do it. It's just a matter of staying healthy. So I think he would be a guy that the Yankees would probably have to trade to get whatever they're going to be looking for.
And another question mark, of course, is what are they going to do with Anthony Volpe? What's going on with him?
Right. I mean, he's going to probably miss the first month at least. So from there, I mean, he has to prove it in his rehab games down in AAA or wherever he's going to be playing. He's got to prove it that he could be brought up. Forget about just being healthy, but he's got to perform. He's got to, you got to get back to that first season where he was a, Gold Glove fielder and also a pretty, whatever he was as a hitter. We could think about whatever he was, but he's got to be better than what he was last year and year 2, right? He has to be better. It's, because now they got Cabby. He's going to start at shortstop for the Yankees. So that at least they got somebody there and he's got a chance. Like, what if he has a hot first month? Are you just going to bench this guy because Volpe is ready to go? I don't think they should, right? So
no way.
It'll be interesting. I hope Caballero starts off great and has a really good month. Force them to hold off on Volpe coming up, right? That's my hope, and to see what happens. Right. And just hey, and then when he gets cold, then bring up Volpe and see what he could do.
I agree with you. Another question mark for the Yankees is Stanton. Is Stanton going to be healthy? That he's older,
Yeah, who knows?
He just keeps going. I mean, I know as long as he's good for the postseason, Yankee fans are happy. But seriously, how's his season going to be? Is he going to be healthy?
Right.
You just don't know. That's another question mark.
He's been a question mark more or less since he got here, right? Missing all these games. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to be healthy all year. Most likely, no, he won't be healthy. He hasn't had a fully healthy season since his first season. He got here, and I think this is going to be year number 9 that he's here. And that's now amazing. He's going to be here more years, more seasons than what he was in Florida with the Marlins. But here's the thing. He's got over 200 more games played in Florida than here in New York because of all the games he missed because of injury and because of the COVID season as well. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge question mark because when he's healthy, he's going to hit a bunch of home runs without a doubt. He's not going to run the bases well. He's not going to play the field, probably not much. And hopefully he doesn't, because if he does, then, other guys are hurt, but
you're right.
But he's a huge question mark. Absolutely. I mean,
he definitely
is.
And
nobody can sit here and say, oh, he's going to play 120 games or he's going to play this many. Like, nobody knows. Like, literally nobody knows.
No one knows. Another thing is, I think the Yankees need Max Fried to be the Max Fried he was last year, his first year with the Yankees. I think that's important because he basically, he took over when Cole was out. Fried became your ace. I think he's going to have to pitch. He has to do what he did last year. What do you think?
Absolutely. And you know what? Last year, he pitched the most innings he pitched in his whole career, right? So how is he going to, bounce back from that? Is he going to be fine? The Yankees, I'm sure, are like, oh, he'll be fine. Why not, right? And There's no reason not to think that. But, him and also Schlittler are coming off of seasons where they pitched their most innings. Will Warren, same thing. He was great as a rookie, but that's the most innings that kid has ever pitched. How is he going to bounce back? Right. So all these guys you could put in the questionable category, but they've proven that they could do it, at least in one season. Right. And Rodon is coming back from an injury as well. Right. So, but yeah, I think that's the thought with the Yankees, right? Like, listen, if all these guys are healthy, we're going to be fine with the rotation, and then we'll have an extra piece to put in the bullpen. Like if maybe Luis Hill will go into the bullpen if they don't end up trading him, but he would be a guy that they would probably trade over, anybody else really at this point. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I like Bednar as the Yankees closer. I liked him when he was on Pittsburgh. I thought that was listen, I wish the Mets made that move instead of the move that they made. So I think you're set with the closer. I really like him. You have to be happy with him, right, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. It's what? It's really the rest of the bullpen that I'm a little bit concerned, or not the not the ninth, eighth, or seventh inning. It's that middle inning, the setup guys, the guys before the setup roles, right? Because Duvall, I think, has got great stuff. I think he'll be fine, and he's settled in a little bit towards the end of the season for the Yankees. So I think he's going to be fine. But yes, I know I don't like to say that guy's name too much, but yeah, after Bednar, Duvall, we got. Cruz, and you got Hill as well, the lefty. I would love to see them bring in another lefty, especially a power lefty, unlike Tim Hill. But I don't know if there's really many good options left out there. I mentioned Kopech. He's from the Dodgers, but he misses a lot of games. So yeah, if he's healthy, yeah, that's a really good arm to have in the bullpen. But we'll see what happens. Maybe, like I said, I think everything's all, on the table, at this point, right? They could make trades. Right. They got the extra starter that they could do a trade or two there. So, but right now, I mean, this is what the team is. But, just like with the Mets, we'll go to the Mets now. Like, they can make moves, but they could also just sit back and say, okay, we could start the season like this. And then, after a month or so, say, okay, this is what we need for sure. And then we can make a trade. So, how do you feel about the Mets right now?
Listen, I feel a lot better than I did a month ago with the Mets. Stearns has a plan. Everyone, listen, it's hard when you lose three of your best players. All right, it's hard when you lose a Nimmo, a Diaz, and an Alonso within a week's time. People are going to go nuts, and they went nuts. What are they doing? He's a small market GM, or even though he's president of baseball operations, this isn't the Brewers, blah, 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 blah. But look what he did with Milwaukee. Let's just take a look. He set Milwaukee up. That Milwaukee's been in it the past few seasons.
Right.
And they've been good. They haven't won the World Series, but they've been up there. So now I guess you got to give the guy a chance to turn this team into his team, his vision. Yeah, Alonso hurt. I said it a million times, of course. But you know what? Alonso, he went for the money. The Mets offered him that huge contract a couple of years ago, and he didn't go for it. And then he had a horrible season that walk-off year. And then the Mets signed him, and he opted out. Of course he wants the money. You can't blame the guy. We've talked about this a ton of times. You can't blame him for wanting the money. You'd want the money. I'd want the money. So we're going to go everyone's going for the money. Diaz, I've said it. We've talked about it a ton of times on this show. He wanted to go to the Dodgers. All right. The Mets were going to offer him more money. He felt he was going to win a World Series with the Dodgers, so he went to the Dodgers. So that's that. Let's be done with that. I think the moves they made, getting Peralta, even Roberts, they are making the moves. They're setting themselves up, and it didn't cost them much. They still have a great farm system. They still have pieces that they could trade, and let's see what happens. So if the Mets don't make any more moves until after the season starts, I'm satisfied. I think yeah, they could use another arm. Who can't? Who can't use another starting
Right.
pitcher? But they have arms. The bullpen looks pretty good now. It looks, their pitching staff looks a lot like a Yankees pitching staff with all those
Yeah.
ex-Yankees on it. But you know what? I'm happy right now. Let's see what happens, and I'm sure he's going to make the moves when he has to make the moves.
Yeah. I would say that's the only spot where I'll have, the questions more than the rotation. I know a lot of people want to add another starter for the Mets. I'd rather add to the bullpen because you know what? I seen Williams pitch last year and I seen Weaver pitch last year.
Yeah,
Right. Weaver was really bad last year. And Weaver, outside of like 2 months in 2024, he has not pitched that good. Right. He had a nice run and he saved us at the end of 2024 when, when we needed a closer, and he was really good down the stretch. But I mean, other than that, he has not pitched that well. So, and Williams, listen, Williams was great up until last season. Last season with the Yankees, he started off really bad. He got
yeah,
better and then, kind of iffy, but his analytic numbers say that he was just unlucky last season. So we'll see. We can't use the excuse if he starts off bad, like, oh, he can't handle New York. Like, he's been in New York a year now. So
right.
if you're pitching bad now, it's on you. And it's not because now you went, it's your second year in New York. Like you have to figure it out. So we'll see.
Yeah,
There are better free agent starters on the market. Yes, I agree, without a doubt.
that and remember now we have to see how AJ Minter's going to pitch, right? We have to see how he's going to pitch. And who else is going to be in the bullpen? Right now, we don't know because there's a lot of arms starting pitching, right? You got Holmes, you got Peterson. Is Peterson going to get moved to the bullpen? That's a possibility. You have Senga, you have McLean. So there are arms out there. So someone's going to be added.
What would you say the rotation is now? McLean, obviously,
Peralta,
1 and 2. Who else you would got? I would think Senga, as long as he's healthy.
I think a healthy Senga. Yes, I think it would be a healthy Senga. Of course, it's going to be.
I would think Peterson, right?
Yeah, it could be Peterson, unless it could go either way. I mean, it's Manaea. How's Manaea going to pitch? It could be Manaea. How about Holmes? Last year Holmes pitched more innings than he ever pitched, right? So how's Holmes gonna be this year? Is he going to be a starter, or are they going to move him back into the bullpen?
You think it's going to be a 6-man rotation? He just wrote down Peralta, McLean, Peterson, Senga, Holmes, Manaea. Do you really think they're going to go with a 6-man rotation?
No, I don't think so. I think someone's going to get moved to the bullpen.
Now, Holmes, we know, has worked out of the bullpen. He was really good with the Yankees. At some point, he was really good in the bullpen. So that might be the guy that they put back there.
Yeah, that might be, or they might try Peterson. I don't know. I wouldn't. Also, remember in the beginning of the season with the weather and everything, it's good to have that extra starter. Because the weather throws everything out of whack. So we'll see. But listen, right now, if this is the team that they have for opening day, I'm happy because it's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was one of the people who was kind of down on it, and I should have gave him a chance. He has a plan, and now my attitude has changed, totally changed. So,
well, Rob, here, I'll give you a little thing here, right?
Okay.
Oh, no, not this one. Armand said the Skubal versus Tigers arbitration hearing is this Wednesday. Now, I'm not a guy that's going to predict anything, but I would assume
me too.
Skubal's going to win, right? I mean, I can't see him losing. Now, might add another starter on a minor league deal. Yeah, that's possible. But here's the thing. Now, if he wins that arbitration and he gets over $30 million, obviously they don't want to pay him that money.
They're going to try to trade him.
Right. That would empty out a little bit of the spots for the Mets, because I'm sure they would look for at least 1 or 2 of those starters in a trade, because they're not looking for a bunch of young guys. They want guys that could pitch this year, because the Tigers are, they're a good team. They're looking to win. They're just looking to do it cheaply, I guess, because if they don't want to pay Skubal, it doesn't make sense. But let's say if they do trade, like, I would think two of those guys are gone, right?
Yeah.
Maybe one of the younger guys like Tong will probably get traded. Plus, maybe, I don't know, maybe Peterson, because he's not making a lot of money.
There's Peterson, McGill, it could be anything. But let's put it this way, Chris. Skubal wins. The Tigers are not going to, they don't want to pay him that. So the Tigers are probably going to look to unload that contract and get what they could now, right? And if Skubal loses, you're going to have a pissed off pitcher, right? He's going to be pissed off. So either way, the Tigers can't win.
And remember, he's not going to be. And remember, he'll be pitching for a contract, right? Because he'll be a free agent after this year. So he's going to be, he's going to be more than wanting to pitch really good.
Yeah, he is. But he's
he's got everything going.
You're right, but he's still going to be pissed off. And when people pitch pissed off, it could go either way. They could screw up their mechanics.
You're right.
Okay, so
that is true. You're right.
They could try too hard. I got to prove myself, whatever. But I think he's going to win it. I don't see him losing it. So, Rob, how do you feel about our batting lineup on open day? Can afford another man left on base? Right now, I like it. They're going to tweak it. So, I think they got. I am nervous about first base. I mean, I have to admit that, of course. So
the Tigers
that's
did
one
ask
thing.
The Mets for top five prospects for Skubal. I think, to be honest, I think the ask would be a little bit lower.
Me too.
Now that he was, now that he gets signed for all that money, because now he's, you know what I mean? I think the Tigers would be more serious if they are more serious about trading him. If they're more serious, I think that the ask come down a little bit, maybe 4 top prospects instead of 5.
Yeah,
that's
it does
guess.
come down. I think so. But I'm nervous about. I am a little nervous about that infield, of course, because they're going into the season with guys who haven't played the positions that they're going to be playing. But
that's a question mark for sure. I mean, Blanco playing first and Bichette playing third. It could get. Listen, if they had a better first baseman, fielding first baseman, I'd feel I wouldn't feel that bad with Bichette playing third, because you feel like, all right, a guy. He'll scoop out. He'll save him a few times on the bad throws, at least early on, and then maybe Bichette will settle in. But Polanco's never played that position, so
it's got me worried. But maybe they decide to go after a Goldschmidt as insurance. If he doesn't go to the Yankees, maybe the Mets. I wouldn't mind that move, and they have to keep Beatty. Don't trade Beatty, because I think you're going to need him. He's going to be the utility player. He's going to be all over the place. He's going to take over for McNeil, I'm pretty sure. But we'll just, we have a couple of weeks for spring training, and then we have spring training. So we'll see what moves both the Yankees and Mets make during spring training or after spring training. But we came up with a list, one of our lists. And this one is our 5 best or 5 favorite, we had to see him play bench players for our teams. They could have been starters, and then they turned into pinch hitters, whatever. But we picked 5 each. Chris, why don't you give me your Yankees?
All right, I kept them to legit backups. I didn't want to say Strawberry that one year we had him, coming off the bench. Basically, that was it was almost like a cheat code, or even the first year Posada was up, he was more or less Girardi's backup too. So. But I'll stick with to the utility guys. Kind of number 1, got to go with Louis Soho. You guys remember him from the World Series, right? I don't even.
I remember.
I'm not here to rub it in, but he was a great backup to have. He could play short and second, and he was just a solid veteran off the bench. A couple other guys. I'm just going more recent guys. I left the more, going back guy for my last pick, but. Homer Bush, I'll pick. He was another good, really good, pinch runner off the bench too. Played occasionally, just a really good ball player off the bench. Another guy, Andy Fox. I don't know if everybody remembers that name, but hope he doesn't get pissed off. Oh, getting back to what you were saying earlier with Skubal. Yeah. But yeah, Andy Fox was another guy coming off the bench. And another one, number 4, without him, maybe we don't have Cody Bellinger, Clay Bellinger. When he was on the Yankees for a couple of years, he was really good coming off the bench. Great utility guy. And I think utility guys are so important to have on your team. Guys that are willing to just play anywhere and, not worry about their playing time and just, just ready to play. And number 1, he was forced into the 78 World Series or the playoffs, really, Brian Doyle, right? Because of Willie Randolph hurt his hamstring late in the season, right? And they had to come back against Boston in that playoff game. And then, of course, in the World Series again. And he hit over 400 in the World Series against the Dodgers that year.
That's right.
And that came out of nowhere. Him and Bucky Dent was the World Series MVP that year. He came out of nowhere too to hit that well. But those are my guys for bench guys.
All right, those are definitely good picks. Mine are a little different because some of them are players who were starters, and then they, in their later years, they became, really, really good pinch hitters. So I'm going to start with my number 1. I'm going to start with number 1 and just go Rusty Staub. I mean, Rusty was great for every team he played as a starter, but in his last couple of years, he became like the best pinch hitter in the National League. He's 19th in Major League history with 99 pinch hits. That's after a great career as a starter, right? Rusty, anytime Rusty came up, you knew he was going to get a hit. So Rusty is my number 1, the best. He's
definitely,
he led the major leagues in 81 through 85. He led the major leagues with 74 pinch hits, batting .274, 6 home runs, 70 RBIs, and 270 at bats as a pinch hitter. So you can't beat that. Number 2, Super Joe McEwing. 2000, the guy was excellent off the bench. But another thing more than that is he mentored David Wright, and he was very important to David Wright. So he was very important as a utility player for the Mets. Number 3 is going to be Danny Heep. For the 86 Mets, he had a 712 OPS coming off the bench in his Mets career. In 86, he did great in the World Series. He just off of the bench, Danny Heep did a really, really good job. So that's number 3. My 4th one is Matt Franco. From 1997 to 2000, 58 pinch hits as a Met, but he's famous for that 2-run walk-off single off of Mariano Rivera, if you remember, to beat the Yankees in 1999 Subway Series game, which the Mets went wild. And number 5, Ed Kranepool. Yes, of course, he was a starter, first baseman for many years for the Mets, but at the end of his career, he became like a great pinch hitter. I mean, he was just amazing. He had 90 pinch hits, 6 pinch hit home runs, and 55 pinch hit RBI. So Ed Kranepool was really, really a good pinch hitter in the last part of his career. So those are my Mets players, Chris.
All right, that's pretty good. So pretty good players there. I knew Rusty was definitely going to be one of your guys for sure.
Of course.
And I do remember the Matt Franco hit off of Rivera. That was that was a killer. I remember that. But here's a good question by Joe. Joe Dell asks, okay, a crossover question for Chris. Which curse do you think is worse? The curse of the Bambino with the Sox, or the Joe Willie curse with the Jets, which will last longer? I hope to God not. The Jets curse, they will never win. They will always make dumb decisions. I will agree with Armand. As long as Woody Johnson is the owner of the Jets, he's the real curse. I don't think Joe. Yeah. I don't think Joe Namath is the curse. I think it's we're cursed with Woody Johnson. And I think the Jet one is worse because I love the Bambino curse. That was great.
Yeah, but Chris, you can't even talk about that anymore because the Red Sox have won World Series, so that's over. Right. So the Jets
that one ended.
right now, Yeah, right now the Jets curse is worse. And you're right. As long as Woody Johnson owns the Jets, I don't think the Jets are going to go anywhere. Think about it. Joe
He's
Namath,
the worst.
1969, they won the Super Bowl. It was actually 1970, the date when they won the Super Bowl, but it was the 69, 70 season. I think, Chris, that's worse than the Red Sox curse.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, because like I said, I love the Bambino one. So I have no problem with the Curse of the Bambino. I wish that was still going on. And that one lasted what, like 90 something years or whatever it was. Right. So if that lasts, I pray to God the Jet one doesn't last that long, because then I'll never see a Super Bowl. And I've tried, trust me, I have tried to sell my soul to the devil. He's not listening to me. Everybody says, Joe Namath sold his soul to the devil. I've tried to kind of be like, listen, just give us a Super Bowl. I'll be fine. I'll sacrifice my soul.
That's crazy.
But nobody's paying attention to me. So I don't think there's a devil thing involved with this. I think it's just Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson is our curse. If you're a Jets fan, he is the curse. And as long as he's the owner of the Jets, we're not winning a Super Bowl ever.
Well, that's because did Woody Johnson know anything about football before he bought the Jets?
No, and he still doesn't. That's the problem. He hasn't learned anything, Rob. Like, okay, you could run a business, but you can't run them foot. Like, just leave the game. Like, leave the team alone. Hire a football guy and get him. And just that's it, and just leave it alone. Right? I'm with you, Armand. I hate him too.
Yeah, and
if it wasn't for the Browns owner, he would literally be the worst owner in the NFL. But the Browns owner, the Haslins or whatever, they are the worst. I mean, we could go down the list here. I mean, they're the worst. But
listen, worse or second worst, it's still the same.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, all right. So let's get away from football right now, and let's Chris, you got that picture I sent you of the furry friend there?
Today was Groundhog Day, and we got what, an extra 3 weeks of winter or whatever it is, right? 6 weeks. Oh, great.
He saw his shadow. But I just want to talk about this picture for a second. What does this picture even mean? Yankees groundhog, he looks like he's ready. He's ready to kick some butt. And the Mets groundhog, he looks like he's on life support with the oxygen in his. What does that even mean? Because the Mets, the Mets aren't on life support. The Mets did what they had to do in the offseason. So I don't do you understand what that picture means, Chris?
I don't know. I think that's what they're trying to assume. I'm assuming it was a Yankee fan who made this up. So I'm assuming that's it, or is it just is it the Met guy that's showing you how most of us feel about more winter? About 6 more weeks of winter, maybe, especially this winter has been the absolute worst.
It's been the worst. New York City, it's really the worst. They don't know what they're doing with this cleanup. This is the worst I've seen it. It's over a week and there's still mounds and piles of ice all over the place, and it's just disgusting. I guess
there's nowhere to put it. That's the problem.
Yeah,
there's like nowhere to put it.
No, there's no,
and it's not melting.
But if you look at Canada, they have a ton of those melting trucks. They just put the snow in those trucks and it melts it right away. We need a whole bunch of. I think New York City has 3 of those, but I think we need a little more.
Not enough.
But anyway, all right. So that's probably a Yankee fan. They thought they were funny, and they're still crying about Soto.
Yeah, probably. That would be a fan that would still be crying over this guy.
So we got that. So we got a trade. The Red Sox made a trade with the White Sox. Chris, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was like another salary dump, right? And it's pretty sad because not sad. I think it's actually funny.
No, you do.
Yeah. I'm totally fine with it. But I mean, it was basically another salary dump that was from a salary dump, right? The original trade with Devers was a salary dump. It was what was it? Jordan Hicks and David Sandlin, a starting pitcher for Gage. Gage Zeal from
Yeah,
the
yes,
White Sox.
from the White Sox. Yeah, he was. He's one of their Gage Zeal. He's their 14 best prospect of the on the White Sox.
Yeah. So that's all that was a salary dump. Is now, are they going to make another move? After they make that trade, the Red Sox, since they cleared, Hicks's salary, maybe that's what the plan is.
Yeah.
But I would think that's it. They still kind of need a second baseman. They still could probably use another starter. I don't love their rotation. Crochet's great, but after that, I know they added Sonny Gray. I'm not.
Yeah.
Suarez is good. I like Ranger Suarez, really good, number 2. But after that, to me, I'm not a big Sonny Gray fan.
Me either, Sonny Gray.
Is Bayo going to be that guy again that he was last season? Maybe he finally turned the corner, and then they got the young kids coming up. So we'll see. But that's all that was a salary dump. And just getting back to the White Sox, they've made some moves. It's great for them. They've added some pieces here and there, not great players, but they have added some. So for them, it's pretty good. I don't know if they're going to be much in that division. Maybe they don't lose 100 games this year. Maybe they don't finish in last, because maybe the Twins do. But yeah, they're definitely better before there is a cap. Yeah, I don't know. That's the big question, right? We've been talking about that for so long. So I don't know. We'll pitch for Puerto Rico. Yeah, I've seen that. That's if Puerto Rico's in the World Baseball Classic, right? Did you hear that one too?
Yeah.
That the Puerto Rico may not play in the World Baseball Classic because a lot of guys were denied because of insurance stuff. Like Lindor was one of them.
Yes,
right?
Lindor was one of them, right?
So that's that'll be curious if they do go in or not. I think they have to.
I agree.
I think the rosters have to be in tomorrow, and then they'll announce it Thursday, so we'll know this week. A cap. I'm not going to say it'll never happen. I'm never say never. That's all I'll say. Because look at football. Football is doing great with a salary cap. I know they can because they don't have local TV contracts like Major League Baseball does, but their local contracts are starting to fall apart. Some of these teams, so it's going to be interesting. I would never say never, but it's the only thing that's going to even out the playing field, basically, right? With the Dodgers, we talked about the Dodgers so much. They just have so much money, and then they have that TV deal that if you read up on it, their local TV deal, like they're supposed to share, or they're supposed to pay into the league a certain amount, right? Like every other team does from their TV deal, and they don't. Like they pocket it all because of the previous owner filed for bankruptcy or something like that, and it was part of the deal. So they're keeping all that money from their TV deal, which is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
So I don't know.
It's not fair, but
either way,
things are going to change. Yeah, it definitely is. All right, so let's go to Cincinnati Reds for a minute. They made a signing, Chris.
They picked up Suarez, right? The third baseman.
Suarez for a year for $15 million. For Cincinnati, that's not a bad move. I mean, it's basically the only move that they made so far. I mean, I don't even remember anything else they did, but they have to do something because we saw what happened to them in the postseason. They were out so fast. It was ridiculous. So that, decent move for Cincinnati. Now here's a move that I like. The Jose Siri signed with the Los Angeles Angels, a minor league deal for $1.6 million. If he makes the roster, he has 2 opt-outs right after spring training and one June 1st. You know what? Good luck with that, Angels. I'm just so glad that he's not back with the Mets, Chris.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like Met fans probably didn't really get to know him that well because he already played, right? So who knows how he'd be over here? But yeah, I don't know. If he makes the roster, like you said, that's great. He's a good 4th outfielder, I think. But and the Angels made some moves too. I just don't know in that West. The A's are better. The the Astros are still going to be good, and obviously Seattle is going to be good with their pitching. So I don't know. That's a tough division to try to make moves in.
It sure is. And what's going to happen with Severino this year? He's a year older. He was so unhappy on the A's. What do you think's going to happen to him? Do you think he's going to get traded at the deadline? Because people are like now, oh yeah, he's going to get traded to the Mets at deadline. The season didn't even start yet, and people are talking about deadline deals already. But Severino, he could just. He's just going to have another bad season because of that team and that ballpark.
Right. I mean, yeah, he was 8-11 last year. ERA was 4.5. But you know what? He did pitch, he did make 29 starts, 162 innings. And that to me is big for him, right? Yeah. Because that was the big question mark with the Yankees, right? He got hurt a lot. So, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Still another month for some major moves. Absolutely, Joe. Listen, opening day for the Yankees, opening night is March 25th in San Francisco. So there's a lot of time before that day comes, right? For things to happen, and things can happen after opening day. I'm not saying that, but yeah, there's plenty of time for, I'm sure that the players that are still free agents want to get signed. They want to get to wherever the hell they're going, because next week they got to start reporting, but we'll see. The door's definitely not closed for moves to be made for sure. Both the Yankees and the Mets are still going to look to add pieces, and I think there will be trades, coming up, or signings for the Yankees and the Mets.
Yeah, I think so. And with these teams too, I mean, there's still some free agents out there left, of course. They have to hook up with the team before, they don't have that much time. And then we know that there's always one player somewhere that gets hurt in spring training, right? That just happens. So they got to worry about that too. So yeah, there's a lot of time. There's going to be more deals made, more signings, and there's going to be trades. Okay, so now the Toronto Blue Jays are going to unveil a statue of Joe Carter in July at the 50th anniversary season. Could you believe that the Blue Jays, it's going to be their 50th anniversary season already? That is it's just amazing. They're going to do it at a pregame ceremony honoring the 1992 and 1993 World Series champions. And, Joe Carter's deserving of a statue. What do you think, Chris?
Absolutely. That was, that's probably their biggest play in their franchise history, right? When he hit the home run, I'm sure it's going to be him with, with his arm up or something, after his swing, going around the bases. The one that won the World Series for them when he hit it off of Mitch Williams, right?
Right. Mitch Williams.
Yeah. I think, and listen, I was definitely rooting for the Phillies. I didn't want to see the Blue Jays. Anytime it was Toronto versus, a Canada team versus an American team, I'm always rooting for the American team. This year, not so much. I don't know if I was rooting for the Dodgers, but it was hard to root for the Blue Jays too. So, but he definitely deserves a statue. I mean, that's iconic. I mean, not just in Blue Jays history and baseball history. That's got to be one of the biggest home runs ever hit in history.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I know what you mean. You were torn this year, right? You did not want the Dodgers to win the World Series again, but then again, you had Toronto from your own division, so that was a little tough on you, Chris. This was a tough postseason for you, Chris.
Yes. Yeah, no, it was. It definitely was. I've been through a few of them. So, we are a little bit older, not much older, but yeah, we're definitely a tad bit older than the Blue Jays.
But you are.
Yes.
And here's something else. Okay, here's a little some fun news. We talked about the Chicago White Sox and everyone thinks, it's on social media. Wow, the White Sox are really making moves, and like you said, well, they're good moves for the White Sox, but for other teams, there are right moves. Well, here's a move that they're making. They're adding a bidet in their clubhouse to make Murakami feel at home. So they just announced that they're gonna put a bidet in there for him. So they're gonna have the cleanest butts in in Major League Baseball next season.
Will that help them hit better, play better? I don't know. I don't know, but
I don't know. It should make them smell better, though. But I don't know what they're gonna do. But that was, that's what they were talking about. I'm a tad older than the. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Joe. This is not Sports Wire Radio, so we don't have to talk about my age anymore or anything. But this is our show, Chris. And also now you can add author to Shohei Ohtani's list of accomplishments. He just came out with a children's book called Decoy Saves Opening Day.
Great.
It's about Ohtani forgot his lucky baseball at home, and Decoy had to, run home and get it for him. But it's going to promote Ohtani's work with animal rescues. Okay, so there's another thing Ohtani's doing, Chris. That guy does it all.
See, now I can't hate him because he does stuff for animal rescue. So I'm not going to say that. I had a whole thing I was going to say, but no, now I'm not going to say it. I hope this book sells 1 billion copies, and all of it goes to the animal rescue organizations that he supports. So
so do I. Like when I first read it, I was like, what are you kidding me? And then I read the last line. Decoy won $10 million on a World Series bet.
As long as it goes to the animal rescue, I'm okay with the bet.
Me too. I'm okay. So Chris, we got about 9 more minutes. So let's talk about the American League East for a minute. How tough do you think that division is going to be because I think that division probably has the most teams that bettered themselves and made moves. The National League East, I don't think, because I think the Phillies are weaker. I don't know where the Braves are right now. Miami, I don't think it's going to be a tough division, but not like the American League East. So what do you think with the moves Toronto made and the Orioles and, how the Red Sox are going to be? How hard? What do you think about the division? I want to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I think another thing too, like the worst team in the East, you could say, is Tampa for the American League East. In the National League East, the worst team is going to be Washington. Washington's I think is going to lose 100 games this year. I don't think with all the guys, that they've traded away guys and stuff. So I don't think they're going to be that good. With the East, Tampa is going to be the worst team, and they're going to be a team that's going to, I'm not saying they're going to win 90 games, but they're not going to be a really bad team. They're going to, and they're back playing in the dome, so that gives them that advantage, right? But the rest of the teams all did something to get better, right? So I think they're all going to be, they're all going to be a playoff possibilities. Every one of them. You can make an argument for every one of those teams: the Yankees, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Orioles. Orioles got really good, and they're probably going to add one more pitcher, right? I mean, maybe they're going to add Framber Valdez, who's still out there, which is mind-boggling that he's still out there. But he must be asking for crazy money, crazy years, because he's not signed yet. But I think if they add another pitcher, they're going to be really good. Without it, they're still going to be really good. Boston, they're going to be good. Even without, even if they don't add another pitcher, they're still going to be really good. And Toronto, listen, they won the AL Championship Series. They were in the World Series. They were inches away from winning that World Series, right? How many those 2 plays in Game 7 could have changed that whole game, right? The play at home, and obviously the play where the ball got stuck in the wall, and it was on back-to-back plays too, which was even more ridiculous. But that's how close it was for them to beat the Dodgers last season. But so they're going to be just as good. They didn't make a lot of moves, but you know what? They're bringing back the team basically that got to the World Series. Yeah, they don't have Bichette anymore, but I still think they're going to be a really good team. So that division's probably going to be the best division in baseball, top to bottom, right? I don't know if, they might beat up each other and maybe only one team makes it in the playoffs, right? I don't know. You could, like I said, you can make the argument for 4 teams to make the playoffs, but I don't think, more than 1 or 2 is going to make it because they're just going to beat up each other. And, maybe the winner gets 90, 91 wins to win the division. No one's going to run away with that division this year for sure. So we'll see. Framber is a well-known diva, and the cross-up is hurting his market. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know. I don't think it should, because if you go to a veteran team, that problem is not going to happen again. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
think he's just asking for a lot of years, a lot of money. It has to be because Baltimore has been trying to sign him. I know that. Maybe Boston has too, but I know Baltimore's been pushing for him. So he must be holding out for more money and more years.
Yeah, and he's been mentioned with the Mets too, but it might be the years. It just might. Stearns isn't going to give him a lot of years. I think, you know, Scooble should be the pitcher that Stearns, breaks that on. If he wants a lot of years, you gotta give Scooble a lot of years if you could sign him, if you get him in a trade.
And you know what? You might. I think after this, after his case is up, his arbitration case is up on Wednesday. I think after that, then you'll see a team go, all right, are you going to trade him now? Like if they're going to be willing to trade, yeah, then that'll happen. Then after that, then it's going to be okay. Who do we have left? If he's not going to get traded, or if he does get traded to say the Mets, then another team might make that move for Valdez. And Giolito
Yeah,
is still
true.
out there. He was really solid last year. Zach Gallen is still out there. I know Gallen and Valdez have the qualifying offers, so
Yeah,
that's
they do.
probably hurting them too a little bit. But yeah, Valdez is 32, so I'm sure he's looking for a lot of years, and teams are probably like, listen, we'll give you 3 years, and maybe he wants 5 or 6. I don't know. Gallen's a little younger at 30, and he's a solid pitcher, but
Yeah,
how much you want to go for him and give up your draft picks as well to sign him. So that's the other
it's
thing.
true. Yeah, I agree. And I wanted to, you've heard me talk about it on and on and on and on. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Just two guys talking baseball with you guys.
That's it.
That's it. That's what we love to do. We love our guests though, and we have a lineup coming up. We have a lot of former major leaguers coming on that have committed to us. I'm not going to announce them now, but as soon as we set up the dates, we'll let you know. But Chris, we got a couple minutes. I just wanted to ask you now. I want your opinion. You've been listening to me and guests and everything. What is your opinion on Pete Alonso on the Baltimore Orioles? How do you think what kind of year do you think he's going to have? And I just want to get I've never really got into it, your thoughts about that really deep into it. So why don't you, got a minute or two, let me know what you think.
Well, I mean, I think as an Orioles fan, I'm super excited about having him, right? Because you could tell he's excited about signing there, and I think moving on from the Mets. As much as he wanted to stay with the Mets, I think he was excited to get that opportunity somewhere else, right? He got the contract he wanted, and you know what? He's there. He's going to be in a decent lineup, so he doesn't have to be like the guy there. He's going to be one of the guys for sure, but he doesn't have to be, this incredible batter. They did move in the wall a little bit in left field, right? This
Yeah.
offseason in Baltimore. So that's going to probably help him out because before that, they did move it back. And yeah, the balls were a little bit tougher to hit out there. But I think he's going to be okay. He might start off a little slow because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. He's going to put a lot of pressure on himself to be, great for them. But I think he's going to have his average season. Maybe he doesn't hit, 40 home runs. Maybe he hits 30, low 30s, and drives in close to 100 RBIs or around 100 RBIs. He's going to bat, 230, 240, be whatever he is defensively at first base. But I think he's going to be okay. I don't know if he's going to have a bad season. I don't think he's going to have a great season. I think he's going to be kind of right in line what he is. I just don't know if he's going to have that huge season that, Orioles fans are probably hoping for. But I think just having him on the team might get these other players on the team to play a little bit better.
I agree.
Maybe, maybe Gunnar Henderson and, can just kind of be him, and he doesn't have to be like the main batter in that lineup now. Now he's got this big bat in the lineup, right? Because last year they didn't have Santander. Right. So maybe with Alonso there, maybe they could get back to having a more balanced lineup.
I agree with you, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if he's going to have a big year. Okay, Armand thinks that they're going to have the best lineup in the AL East, but you know what? We'll talk to him about that on Friday night, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm really excited about talking to Armand and having him on the show because he's basically been part of the show anyway with his
Yes.
comments and everything. So it'd be great to have him
It'll.
on and you know,
Yep.
it'd be cool.
Uh, our time is up, Chris, but it was fun talking baseball with just you today. I
As
had a
always.
good time,
Same
as
here.
usual. Um, as we said, Friday night, 9 p.m., Armand, huge Met fan, huge part of the show, is going to come on as our guest. We're going to talk about the Mets. We're going to talk about the Yankees. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball. So that's Friday, 9 p.m. Armand will be here, okay? Friday, not Monday. And we will see everybody. Yeah, it's going to definitely be fun. And Friday night, I'll probably have a list of players that are going to come on in the next, couple of weeks. So, Chris, we got a good lineup coming up, and I'll see you Friday night. And let me just get to this. And thanks, everybody. Again,